The movie depicts various DC superheroes in high school. It goes on to show the path these heroes must take in order to become popular and powerful. Numerous female superheroes have the appearance of little schoolgirls. Some of them are the best of friends, whereas others are rivals. The plot mostly revolves around superhero girl gangs that train every day to be the best at what they do. Together, as superheroes, these girls protect people and keep the peace in the city. Moving forward, the film begins with a stunning school building. Within the premises, some girls seem to be practicing for a big fight. The fighters include Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batgirl, and Green Lantern, who are made to face off against Cheetah, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and Frost. During this practice, the girls launch super allergy attacks, ice cube attacks, and so on at one another. Everyone is vying for a perfect score. At one point, Supergirl gets frozen. Luckily, she's able to break free. As the fight progresses, the villains get the upper hand and are about to win. However, that's when Wonder Woman's team comes up with a brilliant strategy and ends up victorious. Cheetah doesn't take this defeat lightly and starts bickering with Wonder Woman. Just then, Coach Wildcat arrives on the scene and warns Cheetah that there's no fairness in fighting. After a long period of practice, the bell finally rings. Before leaving, Coach Wildcat tells them all that they must be prepared for a real fight in order to fight real criminals. The students understand this and agree with the coach. A while later, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batgirl, and Green Lantern intend to make friendly amends with Cheetah's team. But Cheetah is too arrogant and walks away angrily with her teammates. Despite Cheetah's rude behavior, Wonder Woman and Supergirl are still willing to befriend her team. After celebrating their victory, the heroes start training again in the sparring room so that they can maintain their undefeated status. Meanwhile, Lena Luthor becomes enraged when she sees that her criminal score is a B. She was once the greatest criminal mind, but now nobody even pays attention to her. She only gets offers to become someone else's sidekick. Lena, fed up with being a B-list villain, devises an evil scheme that will elevate her status to one of the most respected supervillains of all time. She decides that she is going to do something extremely dangerous. Lena then goes to a site called Villaintrest and looks at several world dominance plans. Soon enough, a brilliant idea strikes her. Lena considers villains who could assist her because she requires assistance. Her minions, who happen to be small kryptonite stars, want to be involved, but Lena just dismisses them. After a while, Lena finally hires some construction workers to build something the size of a school. She then laughs menacingly as her plan finally starts. On the other hand, Atlantis invites Principal Waller on vacation. This leaves Vice Principal Grodd in charge. However, Grodd is perplexed and scared because he thinks he will be unable to fulfill his responsibility as the principal of the school. Excited to visit Atlantis, Waller persuades him that only he can understand children, and thus take on this responsibility. Waller is to be absent from school for 5 days. Till then, Grodd is supposed to take care of everything. However, when Lena Luthor arrives at Superhero High and disguises herself as Waller, Grodd is taken aback. Lena quickly takes over the whole school and unleashes her kryptonites to cause havoc. Meanwhile, in the school compound, Beast Boy gushes to Katana about how Wonder Woman defeated Cheetah. He then persuades Bumblebee and Katana to play Hyperfly in order to see who is the better hero, but the game lasts for hours and hours. Everyone has left the stadium, but they are still fighting. The following day, Professor Oberon happens to be teaching a lock-picking class. All the students are struggling to get their tasks done. Soon enough, Catwoman becomes the first to pick her lock, but that's when a kryptonite quietly throws down a skeleton key, accusing Catwoman of cheating. Professor Oberon immediately confronts her and escorts her to the principal's office. Catwoman tries to defend herself, but to no avail. Professor Oberon then announces the winner, who is Batgirl. The kryptonites also go on to frame other students for causing havoc. They make it seem as though Frost has been freezing the water pipes while Grodd and Flash shower in the bathroom. Soon, both of them run out of the bathroom to see who has been doing this. They shiver from the cold, and when they see Frost, they suspect she did it. Furious, Grodd sends her to the principal's office. After all of that, Cheetah is being blamed for putting itching powder in Wonder Woman's hair. However, no one has any idea that the Kryptomes are behind all this. Later, Wonder Woman believes it is dandruff. Soon, the powder becomes a massive trap for Wonder Woman before a sprint race in PE. Her hair itches so badly that she can't even compete anymore. This causes Cheetah to win the race. After a while, Wonder Woman takes off and jumps into the pool, where she feels relieved. That's when Coach Wildcat begins inquiring as to what happened to her. Wonder Woman informs him that her head itches, and she is unable to stop itching. Hearing this, Cheetah starts teasing her about it. However, when Cheetah tries to walk away, a bottle of itching powder falls out of her bag. Wildcat notices this, and so does everyone else. They're all surprised that Cheetah could stoop this low. Cheetah denies all of the allegations, but nobody believes her. Wildcat then takes her to the principal's office. Elsewhere, Supergirl finally receives her package. But since she's wearing glasses, the delivery boy does not recognize her. Supergirl then takes off her glasses and walks over to get her parcel. However, it turns out that this is also a huge plan. The parcel seems to be sent by Ivy as an apology. When Supergirl opens the package, a massive Venus flytrap emerges and starts attacking her throughout the school. When Green Lantern sees Supergirl running around in panic, she quickly abandons her driving test and goes to help defeat the plant. Soon enough, the fight disrupts Bumblebee and Katana's fight, who also start fighting the gigantic plant. Eventually, the Venus flytrap is defeated, but Ivy is blamed for it all. On the other hand, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Frost, Cheetah, and Harley Quinn get lectured by Lena, who's still disguised as Waller. She goes on to tell them that they should reconsider their positions at the school. Lena then criticizes them for hurting their fellow schoolmates. All the girls deny the allegations and claim they're innocent. Despite knowing the truth, Lena acts as if she doesn't believe them. Frustrated, the girls eventually walk out of the office. As Lena's holographic disguise malfunctions, Wonder Woman and the superhero girls go to confront Waller and defend Cheetah and the others. However, Lena just dismisses the superhero girls, who decide to approach the villains and assure them of their support. Later on, Cheetah and her team sit at a cafe and discuss how they've not done any of the things they're being accused of. Just then, Lena, who's disguised as a hero called Divide, informs them that the superhero girls are most likely to blame for the false accusations. Cheetah and the crew start believing that lie. Lena quickly takes this opportunity to inform the girls about a new school, Uber High. Thinking that they're being discriminated against, Cheetah and her team leave for Uber High. When the superhero girls find out about this, they try to stop their friends. But Cheetah and her team just scold the superhero girls and demand that they stay out of their way. Soon enough, Batgirl discovers that Lena Luthor is financially supporting Uber High. Suspicious, the group decides to send Green Lantern to infiltrate the new school while wearing tech gear so the other girls can guide her. Back at Uber High, Green Lantern is quickly accepted by Cheetah, Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, and Frost. She is then introduced to the school's headmistress known as Principal Toller. Just then, the school's foreign exchange student, Backlash, whom Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Batgirl recognize as Lashana, arrives. A while later, Principal Toller dispatches the students to find a vase within Project Cadmus, which is actually alien technology. When the superhero girls find this out, they decide that it is their responsibility to inform their friends that their new school is actually a school for villains. Meanwhile, Dr. Fate discovers Katana and Bumblebee sleeping through class after failing a midterm. Furious, Fate instantly decides to take the two to the Globe of Fate for an extra credit assignment. He sends the two off after a mystical necklace, which is supposed to help the school in its hour of greatest need. One of the Kryptonites overhears this and informs Lena about Katana and Bumblebee's mission. When Lena learns about the necklace, she orders the rest of the Kryptonites to retrieve it first. On the other hand, the Uber High girls successfully break into Project Cadmus, only to be confronted by Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Batgirl. There, the heroes try to tell them the truth, but the villains just ignore the warnings and brutally defeat them before fleeing with the vase and Green Lantern. Back to Bumblebee and Katana, the two sprint towards a temple that houses the necklace. There, they activate a trap door and make their way through a booby-trapped passageway. When they rescue each other from several traps, they express gratitude for their unique abilities. They then continue on their path to retrieve the necklace. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman instructs Green Lantern to approach each Uber High student one by one and inform them privately that Lena Luthor is the one in charge of the school. She hopes that they will listen to the logic. However, Lena, who is now disguised as Principal Toller, orders the villains to go after the magical stones guarded by the wizard Shazam. She goes on to falsely claim that the wizard has turned evil. Just then, Green Lantern approaches Cheetah and expresses her concerns about Lena Luthor. But Cheetah, on the other hand, reveals that she has always had her doubts about Lantern joining Uber High. She then claims that she is actually working with Lena, who is now unmasked. Soon after, Lena unleashes a swarm of yellow, fear-inducing Kryptonites on Lantern after setting her up and jamming her communication equipment. At the temple, Bumblebee and Katana fight over the necklace until Lena's Kryptonites arrive and outnumber them. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Batgirl take a bullet train to the Rock of Eternity, only to discover that they have walked into Lena and Cheetah's trap. They are then walled into a chamber with Green Lantern. That's when the Uber High crew sneaks towards the main chamber, where the sleeping wizard Shazam is guarding the precious gems. Soon, they discover that the chamber they are trapped in is magical. A while later, the wizard takes a bathroom break, allowing the crew to steal the gemstones. However, this causes the stone idols guarding the gems to attack them. The team narrowly escapes by using a portal. On the other hand, Bumblebee and Katana continue to fight off the Kryptonites. However, they get defeated, resulting in a rock slide that traps them inside the temple. Having no other way out, the two reconcile and work together to escape the temple while apologizing for being too competitive. Unfortunately, the Kryptonites take the necklace with them and flee the scene. Meanwhile, the superhero girls band together to escape the temple. However, that's when they get attacked by enraged statues. Luckily, they escape when Supergirl summons her Kryptonian jet, which arrives just in time. Back at Uber High, Ivy, Catwoman, and Frost start to miss their friends in Superhero High. but this starts to disgust Cheetah. Just then, Principal Toller sends the group to steal Dr. Fate's globe, which makes them nervous as they now have to rob their own school. At that moment, Cheetah suggests that the rest of the team challenge the superhero girls to another sparring match. She and Lena will then use this time to steal the artifact. On the other hand, the superhero girls finally return to school to tell their teachers what happened. But that's when Coach Wildcat informs them that Uber High has challenged them to a sparring match. The heroes agree to the match and prepare to battle their enemies. Soon, Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, and Frost battle Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batgirl, and Green Lantern. The girls intensely fight for a long time. Towards the end, the Uber High students realize just how much they miss their old school. They eventually admit to their mistakes and reconcile with the superhero girls. The girls then band together to prevent Lena and Cheetah from stealing Dr. Fate's Globe of Fate. In the magic class, Lena and Lashana finally reveal their true identities to the superhero girls, with Lena completing her mechanized supersuit with the globe. She immediately turns against Cheetah, causing the latter to reluctantly rejoin her classmates' side. The group then tries to fight Lena, unaware that her mecha suit allows her to absorb their superpowers. Because of this, the superhero girls climb into their vehicles and defeat Lena's mecha. The heroes finally start strategizing as this is their real fight and not a usual sparring match. However, as Katana and Bumblebee join the battle, the Kryptonites appear with the necklace and give it to Lena in order to empower her. But unfortunately for Lena, the necklace depowers her, restoring the superhero girl's superpowers. Lena quickly opts for her backup plan, fleeing with Lashana and transforming Uber High into a massive flying ship. However, the group still doesn't give up and continues fighting. The superhero girls eventually defeat Lena and her goons with their clever tactics, sending the ship flying off out of control and out of sight. As Principal Waller returns from her vacation, the superhero girls celebrate their victory. Coach Wildcat, realizing that working together is superior to working alone, asks if they are all up for another sparring session. The girls readily agree, but only if the teams are switched. Hearing this, Beast Boy deviously plans to make more money from the match. Just then, Bumblebee and Katana menacingly approach him and take his money away. The two girls then square up to Beast Boy, who very narrowly escapes. Meanwhile, Lena's ship malfunctions and crashes in a swamp. Stranded, she and Lashana decide to form the Legion of Doom. The movie finally ends with the two bickering about who to invite into their villainous team.